Now, as we start talking about vehicle identification, I want to go ahead and talk about the information that you may need to gather before you make a car key, because that's just as important as the vehicle identification. This is different from state to state. You need to check and see what is required. But in California, we're required to get name, address, telephone number, date of birth, driver's license number or ID number. And then we've got to write down the work that's going to be performed. We have to have them sign that. And we have to keep that form for 2 years for any car key that we make. And again, now, it's going to vary from state to state. There may be no requirements or there may be similar requirements. But I normally go ahead and write the license plate number and the vehicle ID number on the same paper. Now the first key that we're going to make, I'm going to go ahead and make it for my Ford van. And the way the locks sit on the doors, I think I'll be able to get some good video of that to show you how to use the readers and other tools. And I think it'll work well for that. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my own work van for this particular key, the first key that we're going to make. Now it's a Ford, it's an E150, and I am going to change the locks out after I do this video, so everybody that sees the video is not going to be able to make a key and have access to my van. So I do plan to change the locks out, and we'll see how to do that in one of the later courses. But if we look here, the vehicle ID number, and this is true for every vehicle ID number. If we count over 10 places, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that 10th digit will tell us what year a vehicle is manufactured. As we can see here that in this vehicle ID number, the 10th digit is a Y. So we'll go to a chart and find out what the Y indicates. Now I'm going to use fast facts to start with here, and I'll show also in some other materials, but if we look here, letter Y right here, we can see it's a 2000. Now it's important to do that, to actually identify the year from the registration, from the VIN number, check and double check and make sure you know what year vehicle you are working on, because you're going to be surprised how many people don't know what year their vehicle is that they're driving. And you start try to make a key for the wrong year, especially if it has a transponder key in it, there's a real good chance that it's not going to work out well. So always verify that. Then verify the model. The manufacturer is pretty simple. They're going to say Ford or Chrysler or whatever they're going to say, but on the model, again, many people do not know what model of car they are driving. And I have had people tell me the wrong model when I would be on the phone with them. I would go ahead and start filling a form out like this, and I would write the model in. And when I get there, I double check, and I find out that I've been given the wrong model. So it's important to know that before you start trying to make the key. Here you can see the same chart of information on the back of the Auto Smart book. And most automotive resources are going to have this chart that will allow you to find out what year that 10th digit stands for. Okay, so we're going to turn in the Ford section. Now I'm using the Auto Smart domestic book here for this example. So we're going to turn to the Ford section. We're going to look at the Econoline vans, which here they refer to them as the E-Series vans. We saw from the vehicle ID that it was a 2000, so this says 1997 to 2007. And everything on the chart here, you want to read it and become familiar with it. But I want to point out some things that you want to look at right away, and in particular that you want to look at, that you don't want to miss. So let's zoom in here a little bit. And to start with, the first thing you want to look at is, does this vehicle have a transponder? And right here it says no transponder. Now, if it did have a transponder, then you're going to have to find out if a programmer is required to program the key, or if it has onboard programming, and if you have the right transponder key to do that job. This vehicle does not have a transponder. That's one of the reasons I went ahead and chose this vehicle, is because it's pretty straightforward. It is a 8-cut key, which is very, very common on the Ford products today. It has been since about 1995. We're going to talk about that more later, but this is just a good vehicle, I think, to start with. Now, one of the first things you want to look at after you see if it has a transponder or not, what type of key is it? Here it's an H75 key, or the Yilco 1196FD. You have to check, do you have those key blanks? Yes, we have those key blanks. You want to pay attention to the code series. You might want to write that down. It could be significant later on if we need to look up anything to do with the code for this particular vehicle. So this code on this series of vans is 001-1706X. The key is double-sided, meaning it has cuts on both sides. We want to go ahead and make a note about this card. CX101 is the code card that we're going to need for our code machine to cut this key. Max, M-A-C-S, maximum adjacent cuts. How much difference can there be between two cuts? The maximum is 2. Some vehicles will be 3, some could be 4. But when you're making a key for a vehicle, it's nice to know, what was allowed by the manufacturer. And so if one cut is a 2, the next cut could not be a 5, because that would be a difference of 3. So we know it cannot be a 5, and that helps us to eliminate cuts by knowing the max. If a cut is a 1, then the next cut could not be a 4 or a 5. Make a note that there are airbags on this vehicle. What type of retainer does the ignition lock have? It's an active retainer, meaning that there's some type of active mechanical device that has to be manipulated, normally a locking wafer that has to be depressed in order to remove that lock cylinder from the vehicle's column or dash. And we're not going to really need to know that for this course, but later on we're going to need to know that kind of information. So you may as well go ahead and get in the habit of looking at that. Space and depth chart is a C, and hints and tips on how to make the first key are on making the first key number 14. Back up a little bit so you can see the book better. Now we just turn. We know that the space and depth chart, it said, was C. And you can see there's all kinds of information. This is a great book to just get into and start. Just study the book. You're going to learn a lot of stuff just spending time with the book. Okay, so these are space and depth charts. Now the space and depth chart that was for this vehicle was C. And we can see it's an 8-cut key. There's 5 depths. And then there's other information on here. Some of it is similar to what we saw on the last chart, but talks about the key blanks again, talks about codes. If you're going to use a Curtis clipper to cut the key, it gives that information. If you're going to use a pack and punch, it tells you what to use here, the pack F3. And I'll talk more about the pack and punch and show you how that works later in the course. We already saw that the max was a 2. It shows the mechanical key here in 875. There is no transponder. We don't need a transponder key. We just need a simple mechanical key to operate this vehicle. So that's the space and depth chart. And then on the tips on how to make the first key, we continue on into the next section, and it will have the information that we're looking for there. Okay, I'm going to back up here so you can see the whole page here. Okay, so notice, again, pertinent information on this page. It talks about the code series. It says non-PATS. PATS refers to a transponder system. This vehicle doesn't have a transponder. It shows you here, transponder crossed out. It says no transponders on these models. There are no codes on any locks. No codes on any locks. When this vehicle left the factory, it used one key for all the locks. And then there's notes to read. It doesn't hurt to go ahead and read everything on the page and become familiar with it. Then there's different methods to make keys. The first key, to generate a key. It's got 4 methods. One is to use an easy reader, and I'm going to explain that more in just a few minutes. 8-cut determinator is another type of reader. I'm not going to look at the determinators, but I am going to show other types of readers. Try-out keys, I'm going to show you what that is. And then number 4 is to disassemble the door lock, and we're not going to do that. I am going to show you some locks disassembled, but we're not going to actually do that to make the key for this first vehicle. And it goes on to the next page. And again, now there's 2 different charts here. It says 8-cut, non-PATS, Aerostar, Expedition, Explore, Pickups, Vans, and Windstar. Okay, that's going to be the chart that we're going to be interested in looking at. And you can see that this is an 8-cut key, but only the last 7 cuts, 2 through 8, operate the ignition lock. The first 6 cuts operate the door. And of course, this tailgate, stowage, and glove box are not going to really apply to this vehicle, although the vehicle does have a total of 4 door locks. All of those door locks are going to be 1 through 6. There's no tailgate, no stowage, no glove box lock. Then at the very bottom of the page, it talks about a progression chart. New Ford 8-cut, 96 and up, so on, progression chart. And we are going to talk about this more later on and how to use this chart, as I'm going to show you, more than one way to make this key. Please take just a moment to like the video and also subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.